Welcome back to Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate. Prowler only. Last time we took on some G2 hyper monsters. Not particularly very interesting, but unfortunately I think they're going to be more interesting than the monster we're about to fight in G4. Go over there, and the quest we're taking on is called a Bone to Pick. We have our dragon weapon equipped to hunt a Nakarkos. Specifically slay it because you cannot capture an elder dragon, obviously. Other way, go ahead and take the quest and we'll head on out. Alright, so dropping into the arena, we actually start with him exposed, which is nice. You don't have to draw him out of his little hidey hole, at the very least at the start. He will go back into it after a certain either period of time or amount of damage. I'm not quite sure which one it is. I would assume it's probably damage based, but it may just be that, you know, cats take so long anyways. This isn't a particularly interesting fight. He's definitely not one of my favorite final boss monsters. MHGU is my favorite game, but the final boss, while interesting in concept, is just kind of there. He's kind of like a walking tank, so damage sponge, most certainly, and not a lot of really good spots to hit. The thing we're going to be focusing on the most is the tentacles. Yes, if you get a good angle, you can hit the weak spot. I believe from the ground even, as you can see, it's kind of shimmering through those little bone cracks there. However, you're going to be piercing a lot into terrible hit zones, so there's not too much you can do. Obviously, the more you break the tentacles, the more likely it is to break his little mucus around his mouth, and that will decrease his defense and increase the hit zone value on his face, which will, you know, make it a weak spot for you to go for it, which will be really important to go for just to speed the hunt along a little bit. Obviously, Mega Boomerangs are going to be really important, especially when you get the topple that lets you attack the weak spot. So definitely try to save up for that. I think you can either get 2 or 3, and you may be able to get 2 and a regular boomerang spin combo, or 3 and then, you know, not be able to get anything else off. He deals a decent amount of damage, which is not too surprising for a G4 monster that's an Elder Dragon and the final boss of base generations. And I guess in terms of final bosses, Nakarkos is definitely better. So it's not the only final boss we have. It is just the one of generations that's just kind of meh, not really my favorite. Again, concept's really neat, you know, using different monster parts and stuff like that to use lightning and slime and all that, but doesn't really end up feeling like too much of a big thing whenever the monster's fairly stationary for the most part, and he's just really a damage sponge. All you're really watching out for is these tentacle slams. You'll be able to punish him afterwards depending on what kind of thing he has on his tentacle. I don't really know what to call them, I guess just monster bones. So some of them will have larger AoE radiuses that you will have to get out of the way of, while some of them you can kind of just stick right behind the head and you'll be fine. Now we will do tackles and stuff, but again, they're not that hard to really predict. I think the biggest learning curve is just learning where the hitbox will actually hit you because he is such a large monster. Here's the Aragon head, we'll just dodge around there. I assume that actually applies trimmer around the, you know, impact zone. So if you do want to avoid that, you probably want to stay a little further away. Still haven't broken the mucus yet, so we're just kind of staying away from that until we actually get the pop. He'll do this little thing where I'll pull him together. Again, it's fairly easy to actually notice. Just don't be too greedy with your attacks. I know that's always something you're not supposed to do, but as long as you're not like trying to go for too many Mega Boomerangs and not watching out for him actually doing some pretty long tail animations, you should be fine. You just dodge into them. Now, I actually could have probably gotten a Mega Boomerang ready there if I were a little bit faster. I may be punished for this, we'll see. Not that badly though. Looks like he's doing his laser. No, it's not his laser. Okay, so it's kind of a fake out actually. It's similar, I want to say, I don't remember the specific monster, but there's a monster that kind of does something similar where he has a super attack where he kind of charges up or gets ready for it. I want to say, oh, well, this is a weird reference. So in Wilds, Nakarkos does that where it looks like he's fixing to do his big shot with the AoE, but he's actually just getting charged up, so he's not actually doing it. Similar here, it looks like he's charging up his laser, but there's a distinctness to it. You will be able to notice it if you have fought him for a little bit. I don't think that will hit me yet, we're good. But you'll notice it. Obviously, the big laser is going to have much longer of a tail, and it actually can hit you aside from, you know, that where if you don't do anything and you're just trying to dodge nothing that's coming out, then you're just going to lose out on damage, and you don't have to worry about actually being hit. So obviously, you don't want to take the actual laser for the wrong tail. and, you know, be hit by the laser, because that will one-shot you, because those lasers were close to one-shotting me, but, you know, they don't have as much power as the other one does. He does usually just shoot them in that kind of cross pattern, so as long as you're off to the side, you should be fine. I think he can still aim them independently of each other, and they can, you know, shoot off to the side and stuff like that, but it's not that scary. Here comes the laser. He will pull it off to the side, but if you're off to the side already, you don't have to worry too much about it. You just kind of stay over this way. You're a cat, so you're moving while, or you're able to run while your weapon's out, so you don't even have to worry about sheathing or anything. So you're fine in that regard, and obviously you can just dodge into it with a bomber cat and just, you know, adept it. You can also perfect guard it, but that one's a little bit more risky, because if you do miss the timing on that, then you're probably going to get hit, because you may not have guard up, and even if you do, it's probably still going to do a lot of damage. Just keep going here. Okay, so now he's in the phase where, and it may just be time-based. I think it's just time-based, because I don't feel like I've actually done enough damage to actually get him into this state. So he's back into his little turtle mode. This is probably the most boring part, because, well, you can knock him over. It's not as much of a good damage opportunity as knocking him over whenever he is you know, out and about, moving around with his face exposed. Again, it's just kind of something I could talk about, but not the most engaging fight. As you can see here, I'm not having that many troubles. I've been hit a few times, but I've instantly recovered back up to full pretty much, and have been, at the very least, able to keep some pressure on him. Maybe not as much as I probably should be if I really want a fast time, but I'm not particularly worried about that. Poke his head out of the ground here. This is a circular laser. I think I can get right next to it. I think so, yes. A little close, but we're fine. We can spin into it. And it does actually have a little bit of protruding hitbox at the bottom, which is obviously where you'll be hit unless you're using an aerial style. So you can't be, you know, too close to the laser, but you still have some leeway. Good spin into here. All right, I think we broke the right, our right at the very least. It's his left. The bones off of it. I think our Pelico broke the bones off of the other one. Either that or it just naturally came off. Be hit by that. That's a-okay though. Again, it's just a very easy fight where if you are getting too engrossed in your attacking, then you're going to be hit by stuff. That just kind of happens. It is similar in Turgard also to Legiacris, because he has lightning strikes that kind of do that, where they will home in on you a little bit. You can see him kind of rearing back there for his tackle, so it wasn't anything too scary. We just ran to the side. Make sure you have enough space. Obviously, if you don't, you'll start running into a wall, and then you won't be able to get out of the way, but we had plenty of space there, so it wasn't really a concern. And that's just kind of a general idea. Don't just start running into walls if you're trying to avoid monsters, especially ones that can tackle, because, you know, positioning is very important in a game like this. Going back in under the ground, he is off to the side, so we can't hit anything on his body at all. I try to go for the face. I want to say the tentacle tips may have better hit zones, but I may just be thinking of them being broken, having a better hit zone, but you can hardly hit them while they're broken. Like, you know, completely broken, not just breaking the special element off of it. So while they do have a slightly higher hit zone value, you won't be able to make much use of it. Keep going at the neck here. And maybe, again, it is. Maybe the tip's just the best part. I'm not sure. Keep dodging to the left here. We're fine. Remember, if it's a long continuous attack, most of the time you'll be fine just to parry it. You know, whether it be an adept guard or an adept dodge, or just any parry skill that your hunter may have in Hunter Arts. Because individual attacks, once you parry them, do deactivate. Their hitboxes do. So it's not like regular iframes where the attack stays active. You actually just cancel it out for you. Now, I don't think it'll cancel it out for other players, but we don't have to worry about other players because we are solo playing this. All right, just kind of shooting those globs out. Now, of course, it's not always the case with those kinds of tackles and stuff. Sometimes there will be a monster that will have extra hits on the attack that don't look like extra hits, but they will still hit you and they will still count as damage. So you really do have to get out of the way. But especially for this guy, it's more noticeable because he's so large. And that did look a little weird. I think his little fin hit me. A little odd looking, but I think it does make sense if that were the case. If it wasn't, then I don't know what hit me, but you can always just kind of chalk it up to some kind of hitbox jank. All right, finally get a knockdown. I think. No, I just flinched him. Well, thanks for the false alarm. I was getting excited there. Don't need to be doing that now, do we? So something I'm actually coming up upon is the blowhole, which is actually, I think that's the blowhole. Does have a decent hit zone. As you can see here, we're actually getting some pretty decent hit effects there. So it is somewhat good. And since the weak spot actually is right there, I've never really actually put two and two together, but you can just aim for the weak spot and just hit the blowhole, which I think has a similar hit zone value to the tentacles when they're not like weakened or anything like that. So I guess this is what I'm going to focus on. I'll see how the time goes. It is pretty interesting positioning because you're kind of just off to the side, so he can't do too much to you other than maybe shoot some lasers at you. So I'll see how it goes. There we go. Finally get an actual knockdown. Thankfully, we're going to run over here and throw maybe one mega boomerang. I'll throw two. I think I don't have SP mode actually, so I won't actually keep the gauge. I would have kept enough gauge if I had SP mode though, to actually reapply big boomerangs. Wait, I don't even have to. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm just going crazy, I guess. I don't know what I thought I had to reapply, but didn't have to, so that was good. Now I have to reapply it, but I have enough gauge now, so that's fine. And he's revealed his face again, so that's good at the very least. I'm still going to try to keep going for this middle of his back strategy and hoping for the best. Again, he can still move his tentacles under the ground and kind of pop them up next to the side. So you're not completely safe, obviously, if you're trying to attack that area, but for the most part, you should be fine, especially if he's attacking your palicos. You're not going to be in the crossfire too much. Okay, so the mucus has gone from his mouth now after he charges into his little dragon element state. This is the place where you're actually wanting to attack his face. I think it's pretty much the entire area. The arms may have slightly less of a hit zone value, so you may just be wanting to go for where the mouth is, but I do believe you still take damage. You'll take some slight residual damage if you're too close to the mouth, but that may just be a thing where it's applied in mucus state and not just his regular state. So I'm not sure, but we don't have to worry about that. We're not too close to the mouth anyways, because we're a ranged weapon and we get all the privileges that provides, thankfully. You know, we wouldn't be able to attack the weak spot during a neutral state as easily if we, well, I mean, we wouldn't be able to attack it at all, let me say it like that, because if you're a melee weapon, you can't reach that high. I guess maybe possibly if you're using an aerial weapon, you could, but not a lot of great options there for aerial. There are some, but most of the time it's either Valor or Adept or something like that, or even Guild style or Striker style. Not really anything that'll help you get to a very far away weak spot. You can see the back's broken, and I believe that is just from us attacking the back so much, but that may also just be from the weak spot damage. I'm not sure. I would assume it's just from me attacking the back though, because that is right where I've been attacking. All right, got another knockdown eventually just by going after the face once it's in dragon state. Again, that's going to be your best bet, just attacking the back until he goes into that state and then just attacking the face at that point. Again, it really depends on how comfortable you feel being that close. He can do a kind of hat slam. It looks like he has a hat bill from that little skeleton piece and he'll just slam it down. That's just what I think of whenever he does it. So you do have to be careful of that if you're a melee weapon, but if you're ranged, you just kind of stand there and shoot shots into his face until he takes enough damage to topple over. And it's been fairly consistent. I haven't seen him do the big laser yet other than the first time at the start of the hunt. So I guess as long as you keep enough pressure on him, you should be fine. And obviously you can attack the tentacles that will give you some flinches and stuff, but I feel this is probably more consistent, especially for cats. And if I were a little bit more courageous, I would also have a lot of chances to be able to use mega boomerangs into it, and that would definitely push my damage along a lot more as well. I'm just really trying to make sure I'm staying away from these lasers, because the lasers actually have a slightly larger hitbox than it looks like. Got another great hit there. I don't think it's going to knock him over completely, but that is a good flinch. So again, if I were doing that more often, the hunt would also go pretty quickly as well. Got another knockdown randomly, which is good. This is kind of an awkward spot though. I think the weak spot's actually on the other side. Either that or I'm missing it completely. I think it's right there. Yeah, it is. So I'll also make another note in that when he's fixing to die, and at the very least this happened on the test hunt, he will do a laser that you cannot actually knock him out of. So it's kind of like the Gypsaros last episode where They'll go down to 1 HP, but you cannot actually finish them off until they finish whatever they're doing. And in this case, it's the laser. He kind of just does a final hurrah laser that you do have to avoid. It's not like the one where you actually have defeated him where he shoots it into the sky. No, it's an actual specific one. I don't know if that's always scripted to happen. I'm not sure. I think that was actually a throw off for him to back up and actually shoot the laser. Yes, it was. It's actually a little neat combo he has there. But won't really do too much for him because we can actually move around here pretty quickly. We don't have stamina worries or anything, so I'll be able to throw this out pretty nicely. I don't know if I'll be able to reach the weak spot like that. We'll see though. Yep, there we go. He's gonna dig around. And again, I don't know if it's scripted that he always does the laser before he dies, or if it was just the thing where it happened and you can't kill him during the laser. You know, he actually has to finish it. We'll see here. Maybe he goes down with this one hit. Nope. Okay. So that was just the laser he got off. And again, sometimes he'll shoot it pretty quickly. Like there, he hadn't been in his dragon state for long, so I didn't actually have enough time to throw him out of it. But for the most part, you should have enough time at the very least to knock him over or something like that. There's another knockdown. Kind of far away though, unfortunately, but I think I'll be able to start it here. We'll lose out on some damage, but hopefully if we hover it in the right spot, it will still be fine, and this will at the very least make sure we can get out 2. If not, maybe 3. In fact, I'll try to back away from him. That way, if he does get up by the time the third one comes out, at the very least, I won't be hit by it, knocked out of it. But yeah, we got some good damage off there, so that's pretty nice. And again, there's not really much to comment on. He's not that scary, even when he is in a super amped up state. It's just not that much of an issue. Just keep your health topped off in case any strong attack comes your way. You'll be able to take it. My cats have been up for pretty much a long time. Like, I've noticed the Go Fight Win going off so much, and that may just be because I'm positioning in weird spots for them to actually hit my cats, since they kind of position around you. They do kind of do their own thing, like, you know, they're over there right now, but it really just depends on the monster. He's not super fast like an EX Deviant either, so he's not just going to be running around the entire arena, scooping up everything in its path and one-shotting them. So that's another thing you don't have to worry about for your Palicos. It's just kind of here, I guess. Finally get a subquest complete. I assume, well, I don't know. I don't know what it was. It doesn't really say. Oh, side bullet holes. Okay, so yes, you can damage those, and that's what I've been doing. So there you go. If you want to break those, I don't know if the hitbox actually extends down to the ground for Blade Master players. I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't, because some weapons are long enough to where they can reach that technically, so they may not have thought of that. But it may be possible that it also reaches to the ground, so you can attack those. So it is a feasible option for Blade Master players. Here comes a laser again. Get off to the side over here and throw another Mega Boomerang at his weak spot. We'll try to throw 2. I think he digs after it though, so unless it's just a really long amount of time that he moves. Okay, yeah, no, it's fairly feasible. Again, you still deal damage during that. It's just that if he's on 1 HP, then he won't take any damage. It's just because he can't kill over and die during this special attack. I assume Valstrax is the same way, honestly. He probably has some intangibility at 1 HP during his around the world attack. That way you can't just, you know, knock him out of it or whatever. And then once that ends, you're fine to actually attack him and finish him off. I'm sure it's maybe more common in newer games to see that, since there's a lot more cinematic set pieces and fights now. But it's definitely less common in the older games, because a lot of monsters really aren't particularly designed that way outside of something like Gypceros. Okay, so he just did a laser and now he's doing another one right after it. Okay, no, apparently you can cancel it. There is a certain point where you can't cancel it. I don't know, maybe he has one HP and during the first laser, and then the second one he no longer has the intangibility. I don't know, but yes, he will try to do his final laser right before he dies, which is, you know, kind of neat, because he does shoot the laser into the sky after you actually kill him, so it does make it more, I guess, continuity better? I don't know. That's not a word. That's not a sentence. It makes the, I don't know. It's a neat little set piece, I guess. I can't find my words. I'm sorry. But yeah, either way, finished him off, carved him up, and I'll meet you back at base for the weapon. All right, back to the hub. We'll go ahead and look at our equipment. And once again, nothing really out of the ordinary here. We will most likely not be using it. So you actually unlock 2 from Nakarkos specifically, which is not out of the ordinary for Nakarkos. He has 2 sets. First one is the White Feline Scepter. Has a 190 melee attack with 50 dragon element on the melee side. Now, looks good on the outside. Problem is blue sharpness, not particularly great, and negative 10% affinity. If you compare that to our friend the Vitalis if I can remember which one it was, 225, so a lot more raw and only 5 less element. While yes, your affinity does go down quite a bit as well, that's a lot of raw, and the element isn't half bad, especially compared to the other one for the trade-off that you're getting. You know, you only get 15% more affinity, which sounds like a lot, but especially if you're using weakness exploit, this is still going to come out on top. It may be close, but this is still just a really good option for a melee dragon weapon. As for the boomerang side, only 172, still the negative 10% affinity and 10 dragon element. This is worthless. Don't use this for boomerangs unless you accidentally throw one out for whatever reason. But, you know, okay, melee side. Obviously, if you're probably going out of your way to fight a monster, you may find like the Valstrax weapon to be a bit better at this point because you have to fight Valstrax. Meanwhile, you don't have to fight Nakarkos, and Nakarkos comes later. The next one is the Polaris Claw Sword. 184, so quite a step down. Well, not quite a step down. It's only 6 less raw, but you get white sharpness, which is pretty okay, and 26 dragon element. So definitely a sharp drop on the element side, and probably not worth it at that point. However, you do actually get 10% affinity as opposed to negative 10% affinity. So I don't know. It's a cool looking sword. So if you want to use it for that, go for it. It's not the worst thing in the world, but you know, it doesn't really take much to not be the worst thing in the world because there are some pretty bad weapons. Again, it looks pretty cool. I like it, but if you're trying to go for real big damage, you're not going to be using this. On the boomerang side, once again, only 167 with 20 element, but probably better since you do have the white sharpness and more element. But once again, since it's a close range weapon, these stats are going to be skewed to the close range side. So you're going to find a better boomerang option elsewhere. As for the armor, it's probably just going to be similar. Nakarkos Mask Cross has 152 defense, so definitely not your highest. It's about on par with the cross armors, and the Husk Mask is the same. They have slightly different resistances, only slightly. It looks like this one's more extreme, while this one's a bit more tame. You know, it has less negative, but it also has less positive. So I don't know. If you like how they look a bit weird. This one most certainly looks weird. I don't really like it. I don't like covering up the cat's face too much. And this one's kind of like a superhero thing, I guess. Something like that. It looks pretty weird, but I can see some people liking it, other than this weird husk thing that takes away your legs and stuff. Either way, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please consider leaving a comment below and maybe consider subscribing. Until next time.